At Intel, world-changing ideas start with real solutions, and real solutions start with exceptional engineering. The quantum computing revolution, the next generation of AI experts, the renewable energy grid, early diagnosis for cancer. The examples are countless. The impacts are endless. But the foundation is always the same. It starts with Intel. Learn more at intel.com/stories.
Welcome to the Instagram Stories Flash Briefing. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. You know what I do here? I give you all the Instagram news you could possibly need to know about in 4 minutes or less, sometimes 3 minutes or less. Today, we're going to be concluding the interview with Robby Stein, who's head of product at Instagram and worked closely on the close friends feature that we've been diving very deeply into. Really good insights into this feature. Here's the rest of the clip.
It is closer to this kind of 20 number for a good chunk of people, but there's a lot of variance. Some people really restrict it to 3 to 4. Other people who have very large followings have hundreds of people on their close friends list because that really represents to them friends. And so I think actually the flexibility of the model allowed it to be adopted in the way that's best for you, which I think ended up being one of the benefits versus, and I think an important product lesson for me in terms of not being overly prescriptive with the product and letting the community best adopt it in the way that they need it. One of the things we thought about when we were designing it was how do you make it feel like a really positive moment when someone sees one of these things pop up and you actually feel like you're getting something special. And that was really fun. And when we started using it internally and getting closer to the final product that we launched, it was such a positive moment to come to Instagram and see these and feel like, wow, someone's opening up a little bit more. They feel like I'm someone that they want to see more of their life. That's awesome. I also have had different experiences where some people are really people that are my closest inner circle and others are people less so. But for those people, I feel like we've become much closer because of this feature, which has, I think, been a really positive part of my experience of it. So the color green, we experimented with among a bunch of other colors, and it was really a selection that our lead designer pushed for. And one of the reasons why was we have a lot of colors in Instagram. There's a gradient color as the logo. We have a pink-oriented light wheel kind of for the stories ring. Direct has some of these blues. And so just picking a color in a range that didn't feel really similar to something else, it was really important that it stood out. And it felt different, and it felt like it was something that was unique in the product. And so green, when we saw that in the experience, was so clearly delineated from everything else. It just kind of was something natural. One thing that we have noticed is that people tend to reply much more to the close friends posts, in part because you're obviously selecting a group of people that in some way probably do care more about what you're posting. But I think also because people feel special, they feel, oh, this is a thing that's kind of unique to me. Less people saw it, and they're more willing to then write back. So one of the positives of this, I think, is people are having more conversations on this content that kick off direct conversation, catching up with friends, family. Certainly when I post that, like people in my family write back that might not have necessarily written back to my story.
There's so much good information in here to unpack, but here's the thing that I really want to stress. How you use your close friends feature is completely up to you. If you use it to separate your work life and your personal life, great. If you're using it for your business, and I've seen a lot of people get very creative around doing it, that's a great way to handle things as well. I know there are people out there who charge, for instance, $5 for access to their close friend circle, which means that they share VIP content that you can't get from their story or from their regular posts. I think that's a really interesting way to do things. And if you've had success with doing that, I would love to hear from you. Send me a message at Daniel Hill Media or comment on my most recent post where we're discussing this conversation. That's it for today's Flash Briefing. Thanks for listening.